Hey everyone, and welcome back to the vlog. I'm Tipsy. If this is your first time here, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and set up that bell so you get notifications of when I post new videos to the channel. And also do me a favor, give this video a like or a dislike or some sort of comment down below so that I know that I'm moving this project in a way that benefits you as the viewer. I not only want to log my journey as a creative content streamer, but I also want to make sure I'm doing it in a way that benefits you as a viewer, so maybe you will start your own creative streams today. So in my last video, I broke down the elements that go into a series segment of my puppet-hosted morning talk show, Hello and Good Morning. It was a template complete with logo, intro, transitions, main screen, segments, credits, the entire thing. I know that for people out there who want to get involved in creative streaming, that walking into a situation where an idea is that fleshed out can be very overwhelming when you're looking to just get your start. So what I want to go over in this video is the evolution of a creative stream. I want to preface this by saying that there is no finite formula for creativity. And if you are watching this video and you are shaking your head at that statement that I just made because you know the finite formula for creativity, then you need to write it down and start selling it off to the highest bidder, because I'm sure Disney would love to have that formula. So what I'm going to go over with you is not the formula, but it is hopefully a formula that you can use to get your creative idea off the ground. The best way to approach a creative stream is to start with a small, approachable, maintainable, manageable idea. And I'm going to assume that if you are watching this video, you already have that idea in mind. Maybe you've been sitting on it for years, months, days, minutes before you push the link for this video. If that is the case and you have not done this already, I'm going to ask you to pause this video and pipe dream that idea out as far as you can go. Flesh it out with, maybe you have a name for it, an idea for a logo that you can sketch, the colors that you see, the feel of it. Is it high energy? Is it chill? Maybe you see the intro and what that loosely looks like, and that goes into an opening screen where you chit chat with viewers and recap what you did last time and hoping what you can get through this time. Maybe you see some different segments you can break it down into. You see credits. As far and as detailed as you can visualize your idea. And then I want you to scale it all the way back and focus on that small idea, the thing that got you excited about this idea. And that is what you're going to focus on, because that is what is going to get you to push live. It's important to pipe dream it out so you can see a bigger vision and you have goals to reach as you move along. But it's also very important for you to be okay with starting with a simple idea. Because even though you've taken the time to flesh out this idea and maybe you've been sitting on it for years and you think you know exactly how this thing should go, not only is it very easy to get overwhelmed with all of those elements and things you want to put into it, a lot of times you don't actually have the best idea for this creative stream, and that is where chat comes in. If you can start with a small idea and layer things in, chat will actually naturally help you filter through things that they want to see and they don't want to see, and kind of streamline you into the things that really matter, or the things that are going to get them to keep coming back. So you need to be open to their suggestions and their feedback and their critiques into what you are doing, because that's how you are going to shape the best possible product. I'm going to be referencing back to Hello and Good Morning from the last segment. It is my most fleshed out series. It is the one I have the most experience with. And it also started out with a small, simple idea and has evolved into what it is today. Now, a little backstory about me and streaming. I started streaming in September of 2018. I was streaming exclusively from an Xbox. I was playing games. I set up a webcam. I had a headset mic attached to the controller, and I just went live every day for about 2 months, a couple of hours, just to see what it felt like and if it was something that I wanted to look into more. And I highly recommend that anyone out there who has never streamed before gives it a try in this sort of a simple way. And Xbox makes it very easy to stream to Mixer. It's plug and play, very, very easy. But after doing this for 2 months, I decided that in the beginning of November of 2018, I wanted to start diving into it more. I invested in a desktop computer, a couple of monitors. I had some lighting that I already owned from projects throughout the years, and I knew I wanted to work with a green screen, which was a huge undertaking to just want to walk into, but I had worked on projects with the green screen, but I had never done any of the post on a green screen before. I had no experience with keying, so I really wanted to throw in that element because I wanted to do creative streams and make them feel completely immersive. And I also knew that I wanted to do something with puppets because I am a puppeteer by trade. I was a full-time puppeteer for Disney for 7 years. I worked at both Disney World and Disneyland and in their studios. And I wanted to use that as a tool to maybe make me stand out a little bit more on the platform. It's an art form I've been studying for 14 years now. So with those things, I decided to come up with the interactive morning talk show because that is also something that was missing on the Mixer platform. I knew I wanted to do it in the morning. I knew that I saw rainbows and sunshine and this cartoony background and happy trees, and there was a desk, and like you would have in a talk show, and there were little knick-knacky things on the desk, and I knew I wanted to switch out a couple of elements every day on the desk, and that's basically the basis of what I started with. It was very simple. It was a series called Mixed Morning Nuts when it first started for the first week, and I was using a moving mouth puppet. It was this squirrel here. Hey everybody, how's it going? Good morning everyone, and welcome to Mixed Morning Nuts. Because I knew I wanted something that popped. I knew I had this puppet that has a very flexible mouth, so I knew that he could be very expressive. And at this time, I did not own a Stream Deck. I was doing transitions and changes on the screen with hotkeys on my keyboard. So I knew I needed a puppet that could look fully activated without me having to focus on controlling his arms and things like that. So this was the original host of Mixed Morning Nuts at that time. And it was a very simple idea for a talk show. I would just go live, chit-chat with people who came in, just see where things would go. I set up a slideshow of comic strips of Garfield minus Garfield, and I was scrolling through those as conversation starters for people who were coming in. I was still streaming games at this point. And about a week or so later, I had somebody come into my stream, and I would switch to the hello and good morning scene to demonstrate the morning segment that I was doing to new people who were coming in to kind of push traffic towards that segment. And then one day I went to reach for the squirrel puppet to demonstrate the morning talk show, and I couldn't find him. I think I put him somewhere else in the apartment. So I reached into a bag I had nearby, and I pulled out this little devil puppet. And I popped him up behind the desk, and then everything clicked. And I went, oh my gosh, this little devil in a sunshiny background. He doesn't have lip sync, so I don't have to worry about constantly syncing up my mouth and his mouth. He has 3 eyeballs, which makes his eye focus a lot easier to maintain. And if I'm down here fumbling with the Stream Deck, as long as I'm just kind of giving him a little bit of movement, he still looks alive. So with this guy as now the host in this sunshiny background, this is what it looked like at that time. So here is a screenshot of the very early days of hello and good morning. There's the desk and the items on the desk and the happy trees and the bird and the clouds. And this was it. I would change out that snack and I would change out the stuffed animal on the desk every day. And I would go live for an hour. I would just talk to whoever came in. And that was the stream. About a month and a half later, one of my moderators, Daisy Days, who is a variety streamer on Mixer, and you should check her out, mixer.com/DaisyDays, that's D-A-Z-E, all one word. She came up with the idea of doing the 12 Days of Christmas as an idea for a theme around that time. So we went through, and I would find pictures of partridges in a pear tree and 2 turtle doves and 3 French hens, and that's what the slideshow became instead of the segment on Garfield minus Garfield. And then I had another creative come in, my buddy Darkside, who does a lot of the logos on my channel still to this day, and he started making different graphical things for me to put within this scene. I think we did one on classified files or something, so he made these giant file cabinets, and we would start just putting little things on his desk and more things to just punctuate themes in the background. And then I had another creative come into the stream, and he came up with the idea of theming the entire segment. I think we did monsters as our very first one, and he themed the entire thing, sent me the backgrounds and everything, and that's what really started to mold the morning talk show into what it is today. It was that idea of starting with a very small idea, just going live with that idea, being open to the feedback that I was getting from viewers, and allowing them to help me shape this into something bigger through that collaboration and that love, because they start to fall in love with the projects as well. So over time, we are theming the entire segment. We decided to do the theme for the week. We turned the pictures I would find online into GIFs based on the theme, and viewers would submit those to me, so I was no longer taking that time to find those. So they were feeling involved because they were submitting those, and I was throwing them together into a slideshow. So we were reviewing GIFs, and then I started adding segments like Question of the Day, I think was the very first one I added. We were asking an irreverent question, and I was posting that on Twitter. Then that turned into an advice column for Snickle, because I had these 2 puppets. I had Dumpleping, and I also had Snickle Fritz, and every once in a while Snickle Fritz would come in and host the show, but I couldn't have 2 hosts, so I needed a segment for this puppet to do, so I gave him an advice column. So that turned into Snickle Says, and it all just started snowballing into the series that we have today. And here is a side-by-side comparison of what it looked like then and what it looks like now. Because back then, my lighting wasn't that great. I didn't have a key light. My mic was okay, but not the best. But now that things have been upgraded, you can see the difference between what it looked like then and what it looks like now. There are more things on the desk that people have submitted. The backgrounds are custom made now it's every month. We used to do it 4 and 5 days a week. Now I'm doing it 4 and 5 times a month. It's every Monday now instead of every day, because it's a lot of work. But it's been cleaned up exponentially from day one to now. But you need to be comfortable with the idea of starting off with day one. And with every project, I have to be comfortable with starting off with day one. It's so easy to want day 300, but you have to start off with day one. Okay, so say somebody came to me and they said, Tipsy, we need you to come up with a creative idea for a cooking stream. There's not enough of it on the platform. We really want to push that initiative. What have you got? So this is what I would do for a creative stream. I'm going to pipe dream it out for you right now. Okay, I've put maybe 30 seconds of thought into this before I hit the record button. And here I'm going to flesh it out. Okay, if someone came to me and said you have to have a cooking stream, my immediate thoughts would be, I need something that appeals to the vast majority of people. I need something that is affordable, something that is accessible, something that they can follow along with. So I would probably start with potatoes. Now, this isn't a completely original idea. I'm friends with Daisy Days on the platform. I'm one of her moderators. And one day in chat, we were joking about cooking streams, and she came up with this idea to do a 100 egg challenge. Now, it never came into fruition, or at least it hasn't yet. But I thought the idea of starting with just an egg and doing as many things as you can with it is a brilliant idea. So I'm switching it to potatoes only because I think that appeals to more people, because you do need to start factoring in omnivores and vegetarians, vegans. You know, if I want to try to include as many people as I possibly can to relate to what I'm doing when I'm starting out, I'm going to start with something like potatoes, because potatoes are cheap, they're accessible, they're versatile, they're a great side dish. A lot of people love potatoes. So let's start with potatoes. And how many different ways can I do those potatoes? The mashed, French fries, potato chips, potato salad, au gratin. There's so many baked. There's so many different things that you can do with potatoes. So I go, okay, let's do a potato stream. Maybe I call myself the potato chef, only because, you know, potato in pop culture can mean that you're not very good at it, or you missed the mark, or you're not experienced. And since I've never cooked before, maybe I'm the potato chef. And then I just happen to be working with potatoes at this time, but I'm also learning how to cook with you, you know, so there's a play on words there. I'm the potato chef. So then I start coming up with recipe ideas. What's something really simple that people like? Maybe I start with mashed potatoes. A recipe for mashed potatoes. Simple ingredients. There's maybe 4 or 5 ingredients plus the potatoes. I'm going to go into the stream. I'm just going to do a wide shot, clean, well lit. You can see all of the tools I'm going to use can be clearly seen on the screen. The background, the kitchen isn't dirty. It's a nice, clean kitchen. And that'll just be my stagnant shot. Now, if I'm going to pipe dream it, there are more cameras than just this stagnant shot. There's maybe one over the sink. There's one over the stove, and there's one over the cutting board. And I would do wide shots of the kitchen. I would have closer up ones of the stove and the sink and the cutting board. Sometimes I would do picture in picture, where you're seeing the wide plus a smaller shot of the cutting board in the bottom corner, or I can switch it and do the cutting board up close and the wide shot smaller in the corner. So I would start playing with picture in picture elements, where you can see the wide and the tight, and switch back and forth with those formats. What else could I pipe dream? Maybe I start breaking it down into segments. I'm a huge fan of segments, of breaking down streams into smaller things that wouldn't necessarily be their own stream separately, but you can fit within a bigger stream. So I like little segments. Maybe I start doing segments on the history of potatoes. That could be a 1 to 2 minute long segment where there's some sort of transition, and I give you the history of potatoes. We transition out of it back into the live stream again. Maybe there's one on the history of the style of potato. If you're doing mashed potatoes, what's the history behind mashed potatoes? Au gratin potatoes, baked potatoes, French fries, potato salad. Maybe I can give some sort of history into the style of potato that I'm doing. And then maybe I could do a segment on the tool that I am using at that time, whether it is a colander or a butcher knife or a potato peeler or a mandolin or whatever, a ricer, whatever I'm using. Can I give some insight and history into that tool that I'm using? And that could be a segment. And all these segments could be 1 to 2 minutes long. Okay, I'm going to pipe dream it even further. So when I do these segments, there is a custom cutaway, like a little intro transition thing that happens. And then you go into the segment, and the glory of doing these segments or setting up these segments is that you wouldn't have to do them live. You would have the overall live stream of you working on this potato recipe, okay? But then when you do these cutaways, these could be separate videos that you pre-recorded. So you're pushing a button, and this video segment is taking up the entire screen. there's a cute little transition into it. Maybe you're green screen now. Maybe you've gotten that far. So now I'm green screening the background. I'm putting myself in a different popping, vibrant background. There's things popping up on the screen. Maybe it's dressed a little bit to talk about the potatoes or the cooking tool that I'm using. And there's little videos popping up on the screen, maybe of my viewers who have submitted things to me about the recipes, or because maybe at this point I'm getting recipes submitted from viewers and I'm working on those. But these little video segments would be pre-recorded with a transition in, pre-recorded video, transition out, and then I would go back to the live stream. And then I could take these little minute-long to 2-minute-long segments and post them on Instagram and Twitter along the way, right? Or on YouTube as their own little short clip. So now I have the bigger stream, and then I have these little tiny segments that are being pre-built into the stream that I can now use for social media and just more content on my YouTube channel. So I would do that for the vegetable. I would do that for the tool and the style of potatoes that we are doing at that time. Okay, and this is, okay, let's pipe dream it even further. So you do the recipe, you're doing it all in real time. I wouldn't prep anything ahead of time. I would be peeling the potatoes and prepping them in real time, along with all of my spices and vegetables. And so everything would be done now so that the viewers can follow along. Okay, so now maybe the recipe takes a long time, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping this to an hour to an hour and a half. So if I cannot fit that entire cooking process into an hour to an hour and a half, I would tell my viewers that I am going to throw a picture of the finished product into my Discord. And that is going to pull your audience to the Discord. And they're going to want to go in there and see what's going on. Maybe you have a section where they can share their own potato recipes that you can try and do. Maybe once a month you have the viewer challenge where they send you a potato recipe that you have to try to make. I don't know, there's so many, that's another pipe dream thing. But the idea is that you're pulling traffic from your live stream to your Discord. You can also post pictures of it on Instagram and on Twitter. And then maybe you make a little short video thing on your phone of you trying that recipe and reacting to the recipe that they either submitted or the one that you made. You might like it, you might hate it. I think your viewers would like any reaction. You don't always have to pretend that you like what you just made. It could be a recipe you thought was going to be great and it tastes like crap. Just be honest with your response. And those responses are things that you could post on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So all of these things start talking to each other. You're doing a live stream, but you're also creating mini streams within them. You're creating more content for all your social media outlets. And it starts to become, between Discord, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Mixer, it all starts to interconnect naturally. So that would be my pipe dream idea of how a cooking stream could be approached. That is a formula for it, but it's not necessarily the formula for it, because you could try all this stuff out and it could fail. So before you start overwhelming yourself with that pipe dream idea of this really extensive cooking stream, you need to be comfortable with zooming it all the way back, working with what you have, and just hitting live and not overwhelming yourself. So for the very first stream, I would set up my camera so I have a nice wide shot. I would make sure my kitchen was clean. I would have all of the tools that I was going to be using on display, along with all of the vegetables, making sure they can all be seen cleanly in that wide shot. And I would probably just make mashed potatoes in a wide shot. See who comes in, see where the conversation goes, see how they start shaping what I'm doing, see how they affect my pipe dream. You can always go back and revisit the pipe dream and edit things out and add things in as you go along, and put in the criticisms and the critiques from chat and work all of that into what you're doing and start building it together. But have a wide vision, but keep it open, and then start simple. And maybe after you do a couple of recipes with potatoes, you go, okay, I did that. This is something I want to do. I can invest a little bit more money. Let me see if I can get a second camera in here and do the one where there's one over the cutting board. And then maybe I try pre-recording one out of the 3 segments and beforehand, where I can do a little bit more stuff with the camera because it's pre-recorded and not live. And I can get more creative with just doing single cam setups and try doing the history of the style of the potato that I'm doing. Can I find a minute to 2 minutes of information where I can comfortably talk about this potato style? And there, when you're off stream, you can do as many takes as you need to get it exactly the way you want. Edit it down. I'm saying a 2-minute video because that's a good amount of length for a segment. And on Twitter right now, 2 minutes and 20 seconds is the longest video that you can post on Twitter. So it's also a video that you could immediately upload to Twitter. So maybe you start with that, just doing one segment at a time, and just let it layer in there, one little bit at a time, and being okay with getting comfortable with something, adding a new element, getting comfortable with doing the original idea with that new element, and then add the next element. Get comfortable with the original element, that's first element, and now that second element. Now add another element. And you're doing it in such a way where it becomes a formula for you, where it's manageable, you're comfortable with it, and you're not overwhelming yourself from day one, because that is key. Start with a simple, manageable idea and let yourself get comfortable with it before you start getting complicated. So if we go back and we revisit the idea of doing the simple stream with the wide shot, things that I would want to make sure I have on the screen is, one, my logo somewhere on that stream scene where you can see it, for branding purposes, because you always want to be pushing your brand. And since it is a creative stream, I would highly recommend getting the chat on the screen, whether you're using Streamlabs OBS or you are using Pixel Chat. If you're on Mixer, you can use Pixel Chat. It's a beautiful way to get that chat on the screen where people can follow it along on other platforms. So get the wide shot, clean it up, get your logo on there, get the chat on there. You can look at YouTube videos for how you can get chat in different chat programs where you can get the chat on the screen, hit live, and just see what happens. Be open to it. Have fun with it. And this idea of fleshing out, pipe dreaming something out can happen with any idea, with sculpting or pottery or knitting or repairing things, of intro video into warm up to talk about what we've worked on before, into segments about what you're using for how you're doing it, back into the live stream, back into another segment, back into the live stream, getting feedback from the chat, having them submit things to you. All of this can work in it doesn't have to be cooking. It can be any creative project that you have. And again, this is just one template. There are many other ways that you could approach this same idea, but I think that this is the most manageable one that I can think of, and I hope it helps you out. If you have any questions, you can message down below, or I can be reached at tipsyrewcrew@gmail.com. That's tipsyrew, CREW, @gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter @tipsyrew. I do have a Discord. Make sure you follow my Mixer channel, and you can see all the different creative streams that I do on there. And then I have coming up in the future, because I have some fun ones planned. And you can be there from day one and see what a day one looks like and go on the journey with me. But please go out there. Don't get overwhelmed. Start with that idea. Keep it simple. Hit that live button and watch the magic unfold over time. It just takes a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, but I know you can do it. I hope to see you guys next time. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you on the next vlog.